Good morning. We are at Exodus chapter 21. And it's got some hardcore stuff in it, stuff that rubs people completely the wrong way, and I get it. I mean, the Old Testament Israel's a lot different than the good old US of A 2024, but we still got the same problems they did. A carnal mind that leads us to do things in the carnal flesh, but thank God for Jesus Christ the Lord. But as you read through this, as they're walking it out, there's trials, there's things that they do that they ain't supposed to do. God sets parameters for things that he didn't will, but he knew that they would do in their will. I know that may say, well, God's sovereign, everything he says goes, but look at your own life. I know God works everything according to the counsel of his own will. That's fine. I love that. Gives me hope, gives me security. But now man's got a will as well. It's not free, I don't think. The term free will, people want to throw that out willy-nilly. I think every decision we make is highly influenced by a number of things. And to call that free, I don't know. But we certainly have a will, and they use theirs to, be disobedient quite a bit. And God knew that. Even he says, before we get through with the first 5 books, he's going to tell them, if you do all these things, then I will bless you abundantly. I will make you the head and not the tail. You will lend and not borrow. You will be blessed going in and coming out in the field and the city. But he knows everything. He knows they're not going to do it. And as we've already seen, they're having a hard time keeping up right now, and they hardly even got started. Keeps getting worse. So God, being God, sets parameters for these things that they're going to mess up in. Like, multiple wives. We're going to deal with that in this chapter. Slavery. We're going to deal with that in this chapter. I know that's hard stuff, hard-hitting stuff, but it's not something God came up with, but he knew man being man would mess stuff up. And as far as that slavery thing, when we think of slavery, that's going to be in this chapter. What we think of slavery is you go steal somebody, basically, and bring them over on a boat and put them to work and sell them, treat them terrible. That's in here in this chapter. But there's a different thing in here that's the most common thing in here that people think of slavery, and it's not what you think at all. It's really more of a welfare system. Like I said, God would bless them. He wanted to bless them, but he knew they were going to mess up, so there's going to be a bunch of them that ain't going to be blessed. They're going to be poor. They're going to be scraping by. And if you got to where you was that destitute, you could sell yourself to one of your brothers, and they would take care of you. You would work for them. That's what this first verse or two is going to talk about, a servant, a bond servant. That's what that is. That's not the slaves that we think of. Those are called men stealers. And as we're going to see, God deals harshly with men stealers. So let's get going. Now these are the judgments which thou shalt set before them. If you buy a Hebrew servant, 6 years he shall serve, and in the 7th he shall go out free for nothing. If he came in by himself, he'll go out by himself. If he came in with a wife, he'll go out with his wife. But watch this. This is a heartbreaker here, but this is part of it. If his master has given him a wife, so if he becomes that guy's slave, servant, bond servant, and his master gives him one of his other servants, or is it a daughter or whatever, for a wife, watch this. And she bears sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, and that servant shall go out by himself. Now that would be terrible, wouldn't it? And that would make the man probably not want to go. Well, that's what the next verse does here. He says, and if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, I love my wife, and I love my children, I will not go out free. Then his master shall bring him to the judges. He shall also bring him to the door and the door post. His master shall bore his ear through with an awl, and he shall serve him forever. Get his ear pierced, saying, I'm yours forever. And I know that's hardcore, but that's the way it is. It says, if a man sells his daughter to be a maidservant, she shall not go out as the men servants do. If she please not her master, who has betrothed her to himself, then shall he let her be redeemed. To sell her unto a strange nation, he shall have no power. See, it says, seeing he has dealt deceitfully with her. And if he hath betrothed her unto his son, he shall deal with her after the manner of daughters. If he takes him another wife, here's the multiple wife thing. Now, God didn't ordain that, as the man shall leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, not several. But we've already seen some of God's own people had several wives, didn't he? He says, but if he takes another wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage shall not diminish. That means that new one ain't going to take your place. You know, all things you had before, you're still going to have. And if he do not these three unto her, then she shall go out free. So if he don't take care of his duty and treat you like you're supposed to be treated as the number one, then you can go out free. It says, he that smites a man so that he dies shall surely be put to death. He that smites a man so that he dies. We dealt with this, thou shalt not kill. I said it was murder. That's what this is talking about, I'm assuming, because the next verses deals with other things that's not murder. He says, if a man lie not in wait, but God delivers him into his hand, then I will appoint thee a place where you shall flee. And you deal with that on down here. It's called the Avenger of Blood and the City of Refuge and all this stuff. If you kill somebody that in war or battle or however, maybe by accident, their family would want to come and take revenge on you, but God provides a sanctuary city for you to go, and you would have to stay there, and that guy couldn't touch you. And you'd have to stay there till the death of the high priest of that town or whatever. We'll get to that, and it's pretty complex stuff. But he says, but if a man comes presumptuously upon his neighbor to slay him with guile, now that's that premeditated murder that we talked about, thou shalt take him from my altar that he may die. And he that smites his father or his mother shall surely be put to death. And he that steals a man, here's slavery as we know it, this is it right here. He that steals a man and sells him, that's what that is. Or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death. God does not like that. He does not condone that. He says, he that curses father or mother shall surely be put to death. If a man, all right, you had the one that smited his father and mother, put him to death. This one just cursed his father and mother. He still shall be put to death. Remember, that's one of the 10 commandments. Honor father and mother. It's heavy-duty stuff. It says, if man strive together and one smites another one with a stone or with his fist, and he die not, but keeps his bed, if he rise again and walk abroad upon his staff, then shall he that smote him be acquitted, it says quit, only he shall pay for the loss of his time. It's fair, isn't it? And shall cause him to be thoroughly healed. And if a man smite his servant or his maid with a rod, and he dies under his hand, he shall be surely punished. Makes a difference, doesn't it? Notwithstanding, if he continue a day or two, he shall not be punished, for he is his money. It says, if men strive and hurt a woman with child, so that her fruit depart from her, and yet no mischief follow, he shall surely be punished according as the woman's husband will lay upon him. And he shall pay as the judges determine. And if any mischief follow, then thou shalt give, there's something you've heard probably all your life, life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, and stripe for stripe. And if a man smite the eye of his servant or the eye of his maid, that it perish, he shall let him go free for his eye's sake. If he smites out a maidservant's tooth or a manservant's tooth, he shall let them go free for their tooth's sake. If an ox gore a man or a woman that they die, then the ox shall surely be stoned, and his flesh shall not be eaten, but the owner of the ox shall be quit. But if the ox were wont to push with his horns in time past, that means you know that's what he does. You've seen it. And it says it's been testified to his owner, but he don't keep him in. This is just like you see this all the time with these big mean dogs that maul these little people, little children and big people too, I guess. If you know they're a biter and you don't keep them chained up, it's your fault. And it says the owner shall be put to death. But if you've got them chained up in your yard and somebody comes in and it does it, that's their own fault. But, it's common sense. It says, if there be laid a sum of money, then he shall give for ransom of his life whatsoever is laid upon him. So I'm imagining that's, maybe this ox has gored your family member, and instead of wanting to see that guy put to death, if he offers you a big bunch of money, I guess you can take that instead of putting him to death. I guess that's what that means. I'm not entirely sure. It says, whether he have gored a son or gored a daughter, according to this judgment shall it be done unto him. If the ox shall push a man, servant or maidservant, he shall give unto their master 30 shekels of silver, and the ox shall be stoned. And if a man shall open a pit, or if a man shall dig a pit, and not cover it, and an ox or an ass fall therein, the owner of the pit shall make it good, and give money unto the owner of them, and the dead beast shall be his. And if one man's ox hurt another's that he die, then they shall sell the live ox, and divide the money of it, and the dead ox also shall they divide. Or if it be known that the ox has used to push in time past, and his owner has not kept him in, he shall surely pay ox for ox, and the dead shall be his own. So that's 21. You're getting into a lot of rubber meets the road, you know, how to live, how to act, punishments and whatnot. That's what the whole rest of the book of Exodus, a lot of it's going to be. Certainly Leviticus is the law. And before Exodus is over, we're going to get started on that tabernacle, I think. So show up and see about it next time. God bless you.